poorest way to face life is to face it with a sneer. There are many men who feel a kind of twisted pride and cynicism. There are many who confine themselves to criticism of the way others do what they themselves dare not even attempt. There is no more unhealthy being, no man less worthy of respect than he who either really holds or feigns to hold an attitude of sneering disbelief toward all that is great and lofty, whether in achievement or in that noble effort which, even if it fails, comes to second achievement. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena.
Yeah, piece them up.
What is going on, New World community? I have stirred up the haters. I've gotten so much hate mail from this build, it's not even funny. I say it's not, it's actually kind of hilarious. People really don't like healers in Arena. They really don't. But you know, it is what it is. So I wanted to share this build because it's been a whole lot of fun in Arena, and a lot of people on Reddit or in game that I know, or some people in the comment section on my last video were asking about the build because they play healer but they also want to do damage. I want to preface this build with, keep this in mind. I'm flagged for PvP, and I think, you know what, fuck it. Let's see what this guy's talking about real quick. I'm not flagged for PvP. Never mind. I'm on site. You know, I'm coming for that ass. Anyways, pause. So I just want to preface this build and let you guys know that you are not going to be the best healer with this build by any means. You're going to be an awesome healer. The heals on this build are very, very good, but you're not going to be the 7 million healing in OPR, top healing. I am number 9 on my server right now for DPS though. That it was a game against another healer who is really good. Let me pull that up. So you can see that with this build in arenas for damage dealt, I am number 9 with 1 million and some change damage. So it's very good damage. Most of these people that are in the top, if you've got this much damage, you fought against a healer. That's probably why your damage is so high. I've also 3v1'd with this build in Arena when I had 2 people quit out. So it's really viable damage-wise, and being a healer on top of that, you got some survivability. Now, if you play healer or if you play DPS, you might not like this build because you have to do both. For the build to be completely viable, you can self-heal, but you're not going to have like schizo damage if like a hatchet or somebody with greatsword, like Serenity's super strong right now. You're not going to do that kind of damage. You are a hybrid through and through. You are there to not only heal your team with good heals, keep people alive in OPR. You're there to get schizos and rapiers and people like that off of the back line because you will blow them up, and then go back to healing once you've protected the other people in the back line. But also put out a lot of heals. I get top 5 in OPR with this build all the time. But just keep in mind, this build is extremely hectic as far as keeping up with healing, especially in Arena. Keeping up with healing while also outputting DPS, because if you're not focusing on DPSing, you're kind of wasting this build, and you might as well just run a pure healer build with nothing but heals. Let's see. This build is very role dependent. So if you're not great at dodge rolling, and especially for some healers that are used to just standing there and not dying, shooting the ground to get fortify and throwing their sacred on themselves, you might not do great with this build. You might love it, but I came from being a melee player first, and then I dabbled in healing and ended up liking it. So I found a way to mix the two, because for me personally, just healing, I like seeing green numbers. Don't get me wrong. Those green numbers make me get fired up just like the rest of y'all, but I got to be in there doing some damage too. So I started off by having a heavy build that was more of a paladin, but it wasn't healing enough. So I was like, let me try this with light, and I ended up realizing that I could do a crap ton of damage and be a fighter and also heal, and that was cracked. So I was like, oh, there goes my chair, super loud. So I fell in love with it. I found a way to massage the build. I'm still working on my gear, but let's get into the actual build itself. So first and foremost, I'm running Flail Life Staff. Obviously, if you've watched my previous video, you probably know that by now. Now, something that a lot of people didn't like on Reddit for some reason is that I do not run a shield, and I'll tell you why. That I actually think it's going to be meta for healers that want to run a build similar to mine, especially for Arena, to not run a shield. You may or may not agree. And I'm sure there's some people out there that run shield that can justify why they run a shield, and that's fine. I had some people suggest Michael, but I like dodge rolling in this build. But the reason I don't run a shield is because I have a medium helmet, so I can have a little bit more armor. You can probably run, I've got all light on everything else, but you can probably, with the tumbler feet wraps, you can probably run another piece of medium and stay medium. Yeah, I'm not all the way up there, so I'm looking for like some medium pants or some medium gloves is probably what I'll find. But first off, we're running that, so we're light rolling. I've got, this is a pretty good piece that I'm liking. It's got HP, Shirking Fort, and Freedom on it. Now the Freedom, I would personally probably switch out for Refreshing. I am missing some Refreshing on this right now, which hurt. I can definitely tell that my cooldowns are long. So I would probably switch that out, and this would be Biss for this build. This I got from a mission in the new expansion. I'm running the Sporelight shirt for my secondary. Now this one is complete. I like this piece. It's done. This is how I want it. I'm almost positive this one was also in the expansion in one of the missions. So if you finish the expansion, you probably got this one. And I upgraded this. I added fortifying sacred ground for the 11% fortify for 5 seconds when you're in the sacred ground. So that helps you stay alive. It especially helps like if you're got a tank with you that already has high armor, they can stand in your sacred and get that fortify for free. So it's good for you, good for them. Now, on a build like this, when you're running light and you're not running a build that's super mobile, physical aversion, I picked that because bows and muskets they hit hard. So having that 4.2% less damage for ranged physical attacks was pretty huge for me, even for some of the hatchet people who throw hatchets. So that piece I really like. It is. All my gloves, I have refreshing, which is good. I like that. This one also has fortifying sacred ground on it, which does not stack. So this is a waste of this piece. I would probably try for some more physical aversion or maybe some elemental aversion. I think elemental, there's a lot of elemental damage in the game right now, so I'm thinking that elemental aversion is probably what you want on a light build, even heavy right now. So this one I could do with, I'm totally fine without these gloves. I like the refreshing, I like the health. I'd probably do elemental aversion instead of that fortifying sacred ground on there. Now, as far as your perks, you want to look for focus or magnify, or you could do strength because I do run some strength on this build, but look for magnify or focus or con, and then use your points for some strength. It just is my suggestion. You don't have to do that. You can run strength because we'll get into that in a second. On the pants, I like these pants. I'm almost positive I got these in the expansion as well. So the expansion was really good for me to really quickly get a nice build going without having to really shop for pieces. And all of these, most of all of these are named on top of that. So I know what I want to get my armor matrices, which I'm waiting. That's what I need on this one. This piece is awesome if you're running this build. So it's got magnify. You've already got the physical aversion, and I suggest having 2 of those on your build for your armor. 2 physical, 2 elemental if you can, and then, one of your pieces having like your fortified sacred ground. This one I would probably add either HP, which is super expensive right now, or refreshing. And the shirking fort on here, you don't have, it's okay, but it's negligible. Mixing that with the tumbler feet wraps, which is the last piece of armor, I really like these for obvious reasons. This is a DPS build on top of being a healer, so you get survivability from that shirking blessing. You successfully dodge an attack, you get a massive 15% empower, 25% fortify for 5 seconds. You're healed for 200 plus 2% of your max HP. That's huge. I know shirking heals is a hotly debated topic right now with Ankh. I don't run Ankh, so as much as you can not respect my build if you want to, at least I'm not running that. But with the way Ankh and shirking heals is right now, I feel like my build is slightly respectable because at least we're going at it. And you actually saw a video of me fighting a really good PvP player. That last clip, that pretty sure he's running shirking heals, and we were just kind of going at it for a while. So it's one of those deals. But this one's got refreshing as well as the physical aversion. So there's one of your 2 that you can run on there. This one's telling me I can upgrade it more, but I'm pretty sure this is all the perks. Tumbler feet wraps, it's super easy to get and super easy to upgrade. It's just some PvP. No shield, obviously. Now, on the flail, I was running Odo before. Some people pointed it out. Yes, it wasn't the best choice, but it's a nice, easy 700 that you can get. It's a little grindy to upgrade it, but once you do, boom. I put Blessed on my Odo. You could put, something else on it and it would be good. It's more of a tank one, but it worked. So this one's pretty good. It's the Rending Flail. I can upgrade this and switch out the perk that I don't like on it for something else later if I want, or roll another one. I think I made it with Dense Materia, which you get quite a bit of on your Battle Pass, which I have maxed. And you'll have to max your Battle Pass to do my build anyways. So this one is Strength, which is fine. Like I said, we run Strength on this build. Now, the perks I would be looking for would be Blessed, which some people might argue against, and it's understandable. Trenchant Rend or Plagued Strikes. You want to... Plague would be good. I like Trenchant Rend because I'm focusing on doing damage. Now, the Keenly Jagged isn't really a fit for the build. We're not worried about critting. We're worried about doing raw damage output. Trenchant Rend is good. I like it. You just heavy attack and then blow your cooldowns on somebody to nuke them. What I would probably go for on this one to make what I would consider BIS for this build would be to replace the Keenly Jagged with Mending Vortex. To get that extra heal on yourself, because the way that I like to play is I'll jump in on the clump, blow all my cooldowns, I can say OPR War, and then that Mending Vortex helps me un-CC myself and people around me, and then burst heal myself to get out, where I can go back, pull my life staff out, and then start healing again. So that's what I would replace really close with this one. But I'm enjoying this. Now, the secret on the Flail is the Jasper. So with this build specifically, I can't say that Jasper is going to be great on a lot of builds, but it's a really good, what I consider a slept-on gem for your slot. Jasper gives you 20% damage for 2 seconds after taking a hit. So that's the biggest damage bonus that I know of for a gem just off the bat. But you have to take a hit. So there's some builds that you don't want to be getting hit, and you don't want to use a Jasper. But for a build like this, where I'm healing myself, my whole plan is to be getting hit. I just get a raw 20% damage buff. Now, the cool thing on the Jasper is, I don't know if it's a bug or whatever, but the cool thing on the Jasper is that when you add that to, or encase that in a Rune Glass case, unlike other gems that lose a percentage of their bonus because you put it in a Rune Glass, like say Opal, for example, you lose 3% of your extra damage when you don't have stamina in an Opal when you put it in a Rune Glass, so it's 12%. Jasper, on the other hand, does not lose anything. I don't know if that's oversight on the devs' part, or if no one runs Jasper so they're not worried about it, but on this build, not only do I still get the plus 20% damage for 2 seconds after taking a hit, I'm also just straight up getting more damage because of that Rune Glass. So not losing anything, getting extra. It's just an upgrade through and through, no loss. Highly recommend if you're running a build similar to mine and you don't have this Empowered Retaliate, get it, because it's nice. It's not a huge amount of damage. You're only getting 8% weapon damage for 2 seconds, right? But it's still another dot on top of the arcane dots that you're already getting with the Flail's skill tree, right? So get that. It's nice. You have 2 dots on your hits instead of 1. On my life staff, this one's not BIS, but it's really close. I am a splash enthusiast 110%, right? So Purity of Light is a must for me, and Blessed is a must for any life staff, period. I have Shirking Frost on mine. That literally does nothing for me. So I don't know what perk I'm looking for. Probably, if I had to guess, probably Refreshing Move would be a good one for this build. Because sometimes in OPR I'm shooting, when I have no cooldowns, I'm just shooting into the group, and that would give me some more healing cooldowns. But I really like this life staff. I'm just basically looking for its copy with Refreshing Move or something else that might work better instead of the Shirking Frost. But you definitely want a diamond. I don't think any healer runs anything but diamond. You get the 15% damage and outgoing healing when you're at full health. This build, you're not going to be at full health all the time, but when you're playing OPR and you are in the mid to back line, there's just extra healing. So that's nice. And this was just a lucky random drop that I got. Now the jewelry is big. It's huge, right? So Tanglevine Amulet, this was one that it dropped. It comes with thrust protection and HP or Divine and Health. I can't remember. I think it might have been Divine and Health and I added thrust protection to it. I cannot remember, but I know that you can farm this from a bear in the expansion area. I upgraded this. This is a must, a big thing for anybody. I run this on my tank build too. Thrust protection is huge because bows and muskets and also spears hurt really bad and have a lot of burst. And so if you can mitigate a lot of that, it's really good. So I throw a emerald on that for 5% more thrust protection. So just this piece right here, bows, muskets. Oh, and I didn't even think the biggest culprit of all of them, the blunderbuss. If it's not, gem slotted, if you can even gem slot a blunderbuss like that. But 20% damage off the top right here just from one piece. And then obviously the divine, more health incoming whenever you pot or whatever the case, whatever you might be doing. 10% extra HP. And then max health. You could maybe do refreshing instead of the max health, but it's a big health bonus. This right here is what I recommend to run. And this is something you could use on literally any build. Really great piece, easy to get. The jewelry matrix is the hardest part of this whole thing to get, but highly recommend that. And then on the ring, this one is not quite bis. It was something that you can make. I believe it's I think it's dense materia that I made this with, but you can find it in the gypsum kiln and craft it. Hopefully you get luckier than I did. I got Purifying Heart on mine. It comes with Healing Breeze and Refreshing off the bat. Really good. Healing Breeze is a new perk that is just awesome. On heal for 6 seconds, target for 20% of your weapon damage each second. So when I splash my whole team, not only are they getting the splash, plus the extra bonus from Purity of Light, which I didn't even go over, but allies with the debuff removed with Splash of Light are healed for 89% of your weapon damage. So I can get like 4,000 HP splashes. And if your whole team's half HP, I mean, that's including yourself, it's 20,000, 25,000 HP almost. 22,000, 23, just in one splash. Really awesome. But healing, and then Healing Breeze will add on top of that. And that's for any heal that you do. I don't know if this cooldown is per person that you heal or for just the first heal. That would be something that I'd like to test out. It makes sense to me how it's 10% or 10-second cooldown just on the first use, but it would be nice to know if it was per target. But on this one, what I would consider bis for this would be Healing Breeze, Blessed, obviously, and then Hardy. I really have, one of my issues is I really have to hold my rolls and be smart with them because I don't have that extra dodge roll. And being able to roll 3 or 4 times in a fight instead of 2, maybe 3 times would make a huge difference in survivability. Because you will get people that jump on you. After you beat their ass the first round, they're coming for you second round in arena for sure. So that would be what I would be considered bis. Now, on this one, I throw a physical ward in there, plus 2.5% physical damage absorption. And I forgot to say, I am throwing emeralds on every piece of armor this patch for sure. Hands down, no question. I don't care. There is so much elemental damage right now in the game. Opals on everything, baby. Opals on everything. But on my jewelry, the greatsword is a bit of a threat with this build, especially with the disease that they give you on the uppercut ability on the greatsword. If you get a greatsword user on top of you, your best bet is to just try to damage as much as possible and dodge. It's hard to out heal them, especially because I mean, I'll be chunked for 3/4 of HP in half a greatsword combo. I've just been nuked before. So keep that in mind. I put physical damage absorption on here. That'll help you against any kind of physical damage. And then on the earring, Endless Thirst, love it. When you're healing, your health potions are 33% stronger, but cooldowns 20% longer. When you have this build, I don't find myself having to pot as much as I do with other builds, so it's negligible on not being able to pot as much. But that huge burst has saved me so many times, being able to just run away, you dodge, get the little bit of heal off of your boots, and then pot, and you're back to 3/4 HP. You've gotten away from them. That gives you time to throw down a sacred on yourself or a beacon or something, or splash yourself to survive. Now on this one, I put Slash Ward. This is for the greatsword specifically, plus 5% slash damage absorption. And after I show this, then I will show you all of my resistances so you can see kind of what it looks like. But Empowering Toast, Fortifying Toast, this is another thing that helps you survive. I don't recommend drinking this to get the Empower and then go in and attack on this build at least. But it's nice for it. If you're having to pot, it's a scary situation. You got yourself healed up. You do have a little bit of extra damage too to scare them off, maybe at least. But Endless Thirst, it's level 100 on the Battle Pass. It's going to take you a while to get there. But once you do, definitely recommend it. If you don't have it, let me see if I can find a ring, an earring that I was using. Something like this. This is what I recommend if you don't have Endless Thirst. Something with Nimble. Refreshing. Strength, focus, or con, doesn't matter. The biggest thing is going to be Nimble on here, and I wish I could add Nimble to Endless Thirst. That would be really cool. Getting that stamina back, especially against flails. Pain in the ass when you're getting exhausted like crazy. But Nimble is really helpful. Empowering Toast, don't really care about it. You can find something else on there. The earring is kind of whatever you want. But keep that in mind. Slash damage absorption. This is what I was massaging it. I tried it with all opals. I was getting murdered by great swords. This helped a lot. So yeah, get you a Slash Ward on there. I think it's a Moonstone. So now we have 7.5% slash damage resistance, 2.5% strike, 22.5% thrust damage resistance. And now that's not including our physical aversion we have on our pieces. So you are not going to get nuked by bows. When they hit you, you're going to know, and you're going to be like, oh crap, but you're not going to get two-shot by a bow where you don't even have time to pot or time to sacred yourself or whatever the case may be. So super important. Now on the elemental, we have 12.5 on everything. Lightning is important now with the hammer. Arcane's always been important because the flail does arcane. Acid, I don't think there's any acid in PvP, obviously, but it's good in PvE. Fire resistance, obviously, mages are strong. Void damage, super important because of the int axe that's going around. It's painful. Nature damage resistance. There's some people that run nature damage just because no one builds resistance against it. And then ice for ice gauntlets, obviously. So a lot of elemental resistance, and like I said, I would be adding an elemental aversion to something. Probably this one, get rid of the fortified sacred ground. But I'd be looking for something. Yeah, that with elemental aversion would probably be best for this. I don't know if I can upgrade this one or not. But so now we've gone over the items. Quick aside for the Endless Thirst. With this one, these pots, which you can buy on the market, I don't know how much they're going to be in your world if you're not on Castle Steel where I am. It was cheap. It was like 100 gold. Worth it to buy just for arenas. But this is very strong when you pair this with your Endless Thirst, because 33% applies to the regen as well, not just the 400 HP. So it's 1.33. Doesn't sound like as much, but the regen is crazy comparatively to like a regular tier 5 regen pot. So, because I think it's 0.75 or something like that. Let's look and see if I have one. Yeah, so it's 0.7%. So you're doing, instead of 0.7% without Endless Thirst, last patch, before the expansion, 240 HP plus 0.7%. Now you're doing 0.133%. And you can even run a tank build and do that and have regen on your earring. And now you're just passively generating quite a bit of HP, which is nice. So let's look at the attributes. Now what I'm doing is I'm running 52 strength right now because of the armor. That'd be a little higher in arena, but for the sake of this video, I just went ahead and respect to show you where I like to sit naturally. 352 focus. That's because I'm going to eat the 48 focus food and get to 400 focus. 150 constitution. I want the not only do I want the extra HP, but I want the minus 10% crit damage. You could run, if you really want to be crazy, you can run 100. But I just found myself getting nuked too much, so I'm running 150. And where you want to be at the end, let's see your BIS gear, you got all 700, you got all your stat points. Where you want to be is, I believe this puts you at around 80 strength, roughly. 400 focus with the food, 150 constitution. And you're chilling. You're doing a bunch of damage. You can survive, and your healing is really good at the same time. Your flail scales off of focused and strength, but the big thing is to get the extra light attack damage and the extra heavy attack damage. You could go 500 focus if you wanted, or 450 focus, 480 focus, whatever. But I like this little bit of extra damage right here. So at least go 50 strength. But play around with it and see what you like. Now on the flail perks, I'm mostly on the cleric side. I'm running what I was running the arcane eruption for a while. It's nice. The heals are a little bit more, especially in OPR. But I really found I liked the CC of Trip a little better. You can lock down other healers that way. But you want to max that out. Take Vital Suppressant first, so while you're above 50% HP, a free 4% damage reduction. And then when you're below 50%, you're going to reduce the attacker's stamina damage dealt while blocking by 10%. I rarely block with just the flail. But if you see a greatsword coming at you and you know they're going to do that uppercut and try to stop your healing, that might be a time where you want to block. I'm not for sure if that blocks the disease or not. I need to test that. Probably should have tested that before I made a video, but it is what it is. You guys are smarter than me anyways. You'll know the answer to that. But I rarely block, but really get that for the extra damage resistance above 50%. Now on the left side, Arcane Smite. This is a must. You're doing damage. I love the damage on this. This is your big burst. You hit a squishy guy with this and it takes a quarter of their HP. They're gonna be a little scared to keep going after you after that. A lot of them will roll away and then you can heal, do whatever you need to do. But you do 130% of your weapon damage as Arcane. Arcane's nice. A lot of people are going to be running elemental resistance, but as this patch massages itself out, people might start running a little bit more physical damage because people are running so much resist to elemental. But this also deals your impairment, so you're going to get that 10% weapon damage per second weaken. And it's going to give you the impairment also bleeds them when they hit you, I think. We can see in just a second. But it has grit also. Now, Smite, when you hit somebody with this, it reduces your cooldown of Smite. So if you hit a bunch of people with it, 5 people, you immediately refund a quarter of your cooldown for free. So that's nice. You want to be smiting. That's your main damage right here. This doesn't matter because we're not running a shield. Now, if I had a round shield on, maybe that 20% damage is something to look at. But I don't have as much armor. So, and I like being able to sit in there and brawl it out with people and tank a couple of hits without being too scared. So that doesn't really matter. You're getting down here to the bottom one. So all of your allies that enter this zone that's left by this ability, they obtain the deflecting frailty. So when they're hit, when they get hit, it inflicts a stack of weaken on the enemies. This is nice for you when you're just 1v1ing or whatever. It's also nice for your team. So it reduces their damage dealt by 5% per stack. And that stacks 5 times. Also, when the effect is active, when allies are hit, they gain 10% lifesteal for 3 seconds. I don't know if this affects you, whether if you get lifesteal or not. But that's pretty cool for your team. Now, this scales with focus. So the higher your focus is, the longer this duration is going to last. So you can see that mine with 352 focus, it's 12 seconds on the debuff. Now I'm running oppressive advantage. Abilities and heavy attack hits against targets with less than 50% HP grant 5% anointed and 10% haste to you for 3 seconds. So anointed is really cool. It's a nice buff, but it scales specifically with focus. So what it does is it increases the amount of healing gained when you are healed. So you're healing yourself, you're anointing yourself, and your heals are getting stronger so you can survive. So that's cool. This one is weighted superiority, grants cooldown reduction based on actions performed in different. Light, when you hit somebody, it's reducing your cooldowns. So every time I hit, 1% of my cooldowns, and that's why I'm smacking. Happy flails, hitting a target with a basic attack within 3 seconds of using an ability will inflict exhaust, reducing stamina regen rate by 15% for 5 seconds. This is extremely annoying for people to deal with because they're trying to get away from you inevitably. Because you burst them down with your combo and then you start smacking them in the back. With basic attacks, it's going to be harder for them to get away because you're exhausting them. I hate it, so I know other people hate it. The big fish in this whole thing is Arcane Vortex. I think it is the best ability on here. You can argue with that with me. That's fine. That's what I think. I think it's the best one. Swirl the flail above your head, dealing 4 rapid hits of 75% weapon damage. So right there, we're at 300% of your weapon damage. If you hit all of those, you're probably not going to. People roll out of it, but you'll at least get 2. So it's almost as much damage, if not more damage than the smite or your arcane smite. But the cool thing is not only does it do quite a bit of damage, but it also triggers a blast of energy granting 10% in power for 5 seconds to all allies inside the radius, and it has grit. And then when you go down the tree, now if you hit somebody with all 4 of them, it will root them. It's 1 second, it's not crazy, but if somebody exhausts themselves, you go ahead and hit them with the whole thing, root them. Sometimes people will, hold on, I gotta move so it doesn't kick me out. Sometimes people will run themselves out of stamina again, trying to get out of that route, or at least roll for free for you getting out of that. So when you hit a target with Arcane Vortex, it grants haste on you, increasing your movement speed by 7% for 7 seconds. I think this is what's bugged and gives everyone like the permanent haste that we're seeing right now. But allies within the radius of the attack are granted 25% haste for 5 seconds. So that's nice. You can go in, anti-CC people because of the last one. All allies within 3 meters of a player during the Arcane Vortex are cleansed of all crowd control, status effects, root, stun, slow, and are immune to them for 1 second. All allies inside are healed for 65% of your weapon damage. That scales with focus. Crowd control immunity scales with focus, also increasing its duration up to 5 seconds. So with 350, that's going to be a little higher. With 400, but 5 seconds, that's pretty sweet. So you roll into the clump, you blow your cooldowns, and then you vortex out. You're going to un-CC yourself and everyone around you, and you're going to keep people and yourself from being CC'd again. And on top of that, you're going to heal them. And you're doing potentially 300% weapon damage to everyone around you. Amazing ability. Crazy, crazy ability. Spiky Impairment. Being hit or blocking a hit from a melee attack while above 90% HP inflicts a stack of impairment for 6 seconds on the attacker, dealing 10% weapon damage per second and inflicting weaken. So if you hit me and I'm over 90% HP, now I rhymed. You're gonna get a stack of 10% of my weapon damage on you of arcane while your flail is out. If you have your life staff out, won't do that. But it also reduces their damage by 10%. Leader of the pack. When no allies are within 5 meters, all flail attacks deal 10% more base damage. So if you are by yourself, you're doing 10% more damage. When one or more allies are within 5 meters of you, they gain in power, increasing their damage by 5%. So that's nice. If you're in the clump, everyone around you is getting 5% in power. And then last but not least on this tree, for your flail abilities, better together, while within 4 meters of one or more allies, grant passive healing to yourself and all allies that heals for 16% of your weapon damage every 3 seconds. That scales with focus. Doesn't seem huge, but if you're in the clump, I don't know if this counts towards healing in arena or OPR, but it's a nice little boost to your passive regen. So that is the abilities. Last but not least, we have life staff. So we've got Absolved. Your heavy attacks no longer consume mana. I don't really care about this. This is literally just to get to Sacred and Splash. We've got light attacks now heal for 16%. That's nice. You can throw those light attacks in the clump. You have Desperate Speed. When you heal an ally below 50% HP, life staff ability cooldowns are reduced by 10%. If you save your splash till your whole team's under 50%, you're going to get a huge refund on your cooldowns. Or any healing for that matter. When hit in battle, activating healing aura for you and nearby allies in a 4-meter radius. This aura heals for 8% of your weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. You could probably go without this purely based off of the fact that I can literally switch to my flail and heal passively in a radius around me that's bigger and for more permanently instead of just for 6 seconds. So this one I could probably go without and replace with something else. Probably Balance. That'd probably be a good one to replace that with. That's what I would recommend. I'm not going to respec now because I need to consume some Azoth files, but Intensify. When you're hit with a heavy attack, gain a stacking 10% bonus to outgoing healing and effectiveness. This is great for when you're trying to keep yourself alive in a Sacred Protection while holding a life staff. Increase the amount of incoming healing to all friendlies in your group by 5%. That goes without saying. That's just better. That's just good. And then for the final one on this side, when you heal an ally below 50% HP, they are healed for 30% more. That goes without saying. That's huge. That is part of the reason your splashes are so big if you wait for people to get under half HP. And then on the protector side, Bend the Light. After your dodge, your outgoing healing is 20% more effective. So what I do is I make a mental note when I'm about to Sacred, or especially a splash, I roll first. And you can see that buff right there. So roll, splash, or Sacred, heal, whatever. And that is a pretty big buff to the healing. 20%. Huge. Protector Strength. If you have a buff and all outgoing is healing, all outgoing healing is increased by 20%. I'm almost positive this buff to that. So 40% extra healing right there. Man, broken, cracked. And then Beacon. I like Beacon. You'll notice everything's AoE. I'm making it to where I don't do Divine Embrace. It's obviously going to be more healing, but I like Set and Forget. I can throw this on an ally and I know they're going to get healed, and while I can DPS. That's all it's about. I'm going to throw all my heal cooldowns and then I'm going to kill people. So Beacon, and then you want to finish this off. I like Beacon because you can stick it to people, obviously. But Infuse Light increases the radius. Radiance Blessing, Beacon lasts 5 seconds longer. Allies in the Beacon AoE now have 20% haste. You can help people get out. And honestly, Beacon does a pretty good amount of damage. I've gotten plenty of kills where I just beacon somebody when they're one hit to kill them. I mean, it's kind of hilarious. But that's pretty much the build. We saw gameplay of how to play it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'm definitely going to be making more New World content. I'm having a ton of fun with this build. I've been playing tank since the preview, like early days. Full tank, sword and board and hammer. That's me. I was that forever until I was literally that until the greatsword came out, and then I went sword and board greatsword for like a Blood Knight build, and that's literally the two builds I've been running forever. But with all the artifacts that have come out now, the build diversity is exploding, where a lot of people can play really cool stuff, theory craft different builds, and so that has gotten really fun to do myself and to watch other people do with some of the other builds that are out. So, but anyways, enough of my rambling. I appreciate you watching. I'll put some more gameplay footage out either in another video or at the end of this. I'm really upset I didn't capture the video of me 1v3ing. I'll put on the screen right now the scoreboard. 2 of my teammates quit. It was 2-2. They quit, and I ended up killing all 3 of them by myself with a healer on the enemy team. It was a healer and 2 bows, and I won. I was so sad that I was not recording because it was one of the most epic things I've ever done in New World. But thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll definitely be putting out new World content. Definitely going to be doing some Remnant content when the DLC comes out. And I'm not quite done with Armored Core yet, especially if they come out with some new stuff. But we'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Stay mad.
Just a quick side note. It's been really cool to kind of come full circle with this because I haven't gotten a chance. I couldn't figure out, my earliest video. I made a healer video for Remnant, so it's really cool to come full circle with another healer video. And I haven't been able to kind of figure out, especially with Armored Core, how to really make an in-depth build video because it's pretty simple. And I really like the long form where I'm just kind of rambling like an insane person for a while. But I do really like making the more music-oriented, short, like montage clip type stuff. So I kind of tried to mix the two here. So hopefully you guys like it.